Hey. Hi, thanks for coming.
Yeah, you keep talking. I'm going to keep swallowing.
Okay. It's, I don't know. It's great to be back at the Strand. Last time I was here with Raymond Pettibone, and it was a fabulously awkward conversation, which I enjoyed every minute of.
What made it so awkward? He's awkward.
Raymond is awkward, but I really identify with that. I was I sent this friend of mine this 90-second link I had to approve for this for the English publisher, and I just wrote awkward, and it was an interview with me, and he said, "You are awkward, but it's great. That's how you are."
But I don't think people think of you as awkward. I think people always think that you're cool, and that's what we read that awkwardness as cool. But we also read it as, I think the awkwardness, sometimes we think, oh, she hates me.
Yeah, well, it's good to have options. Really, it's good to have options.
It's good to have a couple of gears to work in.
Yeah.
But no, I'm so thrilled that we're here and so psyched that we're at the Strand, because this is like Mecca, and it's a place that I feel so strongly about. And certainly when I first moved to New York, it had a huge, as a young writer, it was a huge deal to be able to come here. And moving here and starting to see you perform all happened at the same time. So it feels really perfect that we're here tonight. And I don't know how the rest of you feel, and I'm imagining most of you are New Yorkers, but considering how many things are disappearing all the time, I feel like when the Strand goes, if the Strand should ever go, and we hope it doesn't, let me knock wood. Like the last person out, just turn out the fucking lights, right? Give me a break. So, you're into astrology. That was a big surprise to me.
I am.
To find out that you are, like me, into astrology.
And my astrologer is right here, Peter Smith.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he's amazing.
We call him out, yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he's a writer, but he's also like an incredible astrologer.
That's right. A writer and a novelist and a journalist and an astrologer. That's right. No, he told me that I had a very watery chart, which means that I'm very emotional.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
I have no water in my chart.
Are you serious?
I believe. Right?
Oh, great.
No water.
No water.
Lots of Aries.
Okay.
No water.
Okay, so you're in Aries. What's your rising sign?
Well, I'm not actually in Aries, but it's tedious to get into. What? It's complicated. It's complicated.
Oh no. All right, then I sense that we should step away from that. So
there's Neptune though, which is good.
So you didn't read your non-Aries zodiac horoscope today?
No, I don't actually. I only listen to Peter. I don't bother with the rest of the stuff.
It's just Peter.
Yeah.
Peter is the star, the guiding star.
He's a star.
That's good. Let's jump right in and start talking about the book. Tell me about the title of the book, Girl in a Band.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not shocking that it's Girl in a Band. That's like the number one question you've been asked, right?
Yeah.
Coming out of the 80s and 90s, there weren't a lot of women in bands.
No, I mean, it was this, just became, sort of this ironic, horrible question. Pretty much every female musician hates to be asked, what's it like to be a girl in a band? And it was sort of thrown out early on as a working title, and I thought, God, I'm going to find something better than that. And but it really kind of stuck around, and it had sort of multiple ironic meanings, and and then it just kind of seemed like you can hang a lot of stuff on that, and I don't know.
Well, what's the girl's job in the band? I mean, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that this is the title, considering a lot of the themes in the book and a lot of the stuff that you write about in your criticism and your art. The whole idea of the girl in the band, her job, seems to be something that you're really tapped into.
Well, I think the girl's job in a band is to add an element of chaos, mystery, unknown energy, and like, what you're gonna do next, or it's not. I don't know, it makes it slightly less predictable in some way what's going to happen.
Right. But you also have this great line where you talk about how the girl in the band's job is to direct the male gaze back at the audience, which I think is pretty cool. And I wonder, how does that fuel your performance?
Well, I mean, it could be that. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good line, but
you can have.
I don't think I need to really add anything to that. Actually, no. I mean, I was sort of aware, I guess, of being projected upon, but every performer has that. But I have used that, I guess, as maybe subject matter for lyrics, in terms of being, like imagining, like an actress, or as a typical the passive object in a film or something, and what happens if you break through that expectation of just being a passive, and what happens if you turn it around. And I think that's actually what was so amazing and interesting about Riot Girl, is because actually that's what they really did. They took that and they completely, they ran with that.
Yeah. Well, you're like the proto Riot Girl. I mean, you were an enormous inspiration to them. I mean, Kathleen Hanna raves about your influence, what it was like to see you up on stage sharing the mic, what it was like to hear your lyrics, also to see you be so strong and uncompromising. Yeah, you didn't write like slut across your stomach in lipstick, but listen, you also weren't playing to an audience of people who were predominantly women and mostly female fans. It's a different thing. I mean, when you look at your audience, you have an audience that I would say, from being, at both more improvisational shows and at like Sonic Youth or Free Kitten, that's pretty gender neutral. Or not gender neutral, that's probably, I just said some horrible slur, right? I really am trying, work with me. Representative of both genders, gender friendly. I'm sorry, there's some normative hetero bullshit going on here, and I stepped in it. I've been drinking. I apologize. I'll tweet something afterwards and try and make it all better.
I forgot what the question was.
I was going to say, well, it's okay. I forgot what the question is, too.
Thank you.
Okay, so then let's talk about, why did you write this memoir? Look, you're not starving, right? This isn't, the end of your story is not written.
No, I did need another source of income, actually.
Yeah, good luck with books.
I have a
Books
fear
have
of
been good to
having to get a 9-to-5 job. Seriously. And it's up there with my nightmares of ditching French class and then showing up for the final or oversleeping. No, I don't know.
I mean, was it about, okay, look, you write a memoir at a time when your life is in huge upheaval. So there's the idea, are you writing a memoir to in some way set the record straight? Are you writing a memoir because, look, you paint, you design, you direct films, you make videos, you do a zillion things. It's like, oh, you know what? I haven't done this yet, and I have a little extra time on my hands since I'm not cleaning up after Dagwood.
No, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really think about writing a memoir. I thought about doing something, making something out of kind of a mess, or this situation that I found myself in a positive way. And my first initial reaction was to make an art project out of it, or like a noir novel, like only one copy that I could sell for a lot of money. Basically, that was my first instinct. And but then I got approached by a few editors, and people seemed to be interested. And I my next instinct was to write a memoir like Bob Dylan and just like make shit up.
You'd be surprised how many memoirists do that.
I'm kind of mysterious. I don't know. Maybe I could get away with it a little bit, but no. I mean, there's a weird thing about memoirs. Like, it's not. Mary Karr really kind of brought back the whole idea of memoir. And when I was reading her book, Liar's Club, I had to keep reminding myself that it wasn't a novel because it was so, well, she's an incredible writer and it was so well written. But, when you remember things, you describe it, and you're not like remembering, you're recreating. And I actually like, some of my favorite books are books like I Love Dick by Chris Kraus, and, where the names are there, but the characters, like, that's not her personality per se, and it's kind of like a mix of real and unreal, and so many fiction books have so much information that it becomes, like it really blurs the line all the time between fiction and nonfiction, and but I realized that if I was going to do it, I should really just kind of do it.
And you do it, but as you're reading it, there is this feeling that you're really not out to settle any scores. You're telling the truth as best you can, but it also seems to be like a real process of self-discovery. I mean, it really sounds like you. It is performative. It feels like you. It sounds like you. It really feels like we were in your head as you're going through your life, which I think is a pretty remarkable thing.
Well, I think like when something really traumatic happens in your life that kind of is this, not just an intervention, but it just sort of splits your life open, and then you start thinking about how you got to where you are and what part of it, what did I play, like where was I remiss, or like who am I, or like when you lose your identity because your identity is involved with your work and your relationship, and so it it kind of sets you off on this course of sort of rediscovering who you are and owning up to it in some way. And for me, writing is a way of really just thinking, and I can't even think almost without writing, and just kind of like trying to figure out how I feel about things.
Right. I think there's a great Joan Didion quote about that. It's like, I write to figure out how I feel about the world, or write to process the world. I know a lot of writers feel that way, certainly. And really, the only good thing about going through bad shit is being able to take it and turn it into art.
Right.
Right. So thinking about this, about the breakup, and thinking about being in a band. I mean, being in a marriage isn't that unlike being in a band, right? Everybody has a role, and if everybody doesn't play their role, there's complete chaos. In your case, you have two people who are about the same age, who are both ambitious, who are equally talented, and share the same stage, and they get married, and then everything kind of changes. Is it possible for artists to really live together, a male artist and a female artist, and both of them be able to make good work? Or does something happen there?
I think there's probably a book about that somewhere.
I want to know for myself. You all can put your heads down. I'm curious for myself.
I don't know.
Can you both be artists at the same time?
I think
if you got a kid running around?
I don't know. I think artists need a lot of space in their life to what they do, and I think if you are lucky, if you have a partner who is also that and understands that, and then you need to find someone who can be your wife, basically, and then...
You mean introduce a third person into your marriage?
Well, in terms of just dealing with all the banal things of, scheduling and things that...
Okay, so not a Jules and Jim situation.
My so-called wife. No, it's more like... No, I don't know. It's I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. Do I have to have a yes or no?
No, you don't. But I'm just wondering, when you think about lots of famous artists who were married, equally talented, equally ambitious, it seems like oftentimes the woman falls into the role of being the lunch maker, the scheduler, the carpool driver. And I'm wondering how does that affect your art? I mean, does it feed the art? Does it feed another part of you, which in some way feeds the art? How do you manage that?
I don't know. I think it's really hard. I think that there are a lot of women artists who don't have children, and I think there's a reason for that, basically. Yeah. There's certain writers who were married to husbands who are writers who had children and made it work. But what was the quality of the marriage or the relationship? Or, people stay married because they're committed to be married and to work things out.
It's a good answer. It's a very good answer. I'm wondering.
But it's similar to like why bands last or don't last. You have to be committed to making it work because you love the music or something.
Right. Do you miss playing with Sonic Youth?
I don't miss playing with Sonic Youth now because I did it for so long, and I feel like now I have a situation where I play music with Bill Nace, which feels closer to me and my more of a natural, where my interests are, and it allows me to be able to have more of a focus more on visual art, which is more of who I am.
When does your show open, the new show?
Oh, it opens in June, early June at 3:03.
Can we put all these people on the list, please?
Yeah, thankfully there aren't guest lists for gallery openings.
Sorry. Given everything that's happened in the last couple of years and thinking about your art, how has this rupture affected your art? Are you aware of it affecting your art?
In a way, I feel like it sort of made me unstuck and kind of put me back on track in terms of what I feel like I should be doing more. And so I can only say only good things have happened to me since then. So basically that's just freed me up to make work and
make a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. You're working all the time.
Yes, I am working all the time. I realize now why people only pursue one medium, or they're artists or they're musicians, or because sometimes it converges all at once and it's just like a shitstorm.
Well, it is, yeah. But when we look
to quote my niece,
she said it's a shitstorm.
Well, she likes to use that phrase.
It's a good one. It's very apt. But this should be no surprise to you. When you were growing up, certainly when you were, I loved reading in the book. There's some great pieces in there about what your schooling was like in the 60s and 70s, like scraping goat skin, and you're choreographing dances to Frank Zappa. Did you ever imagine that this would be your life? I can't imagine. You've always been an artist. You could only ever be an artist. Is the music the surprise?
Yeah, the music is a surprise. And I think that, in a way, punk rock opened things up for people in a way that they didn't expect. It just kind of drew people in as I don't know, it was the most interesting thing since the 60s, and I'm old, so I know what the 60s were. But, it was against the status quo and corporations and corporate rock and consumerism, and it meant different things here and in England, but it was exciting, and it kind of drew people into music in a way that they hadn't thought they would ever go or end up. And
so when you first came to New York, which would have been in the very early 80s, right? You really got into no wave, though, which is not cute like punk.
Right.
I mean, no wave is much more. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to say cute.
Yeah,
But
it was
there's
less
something
conventional, actually. Yeah.
Right, much less conventional. So who did you go see? Who really turned you on? Who set your brain on fire? Who got you here?
Well, Suicide, Alan Vega, and that was very confrontational with the audience, and Mars, DNA. Teenage Jesus was over, but I knew their records, and then there's like the Static, with Glenn Branca's band at the time, and Reese Chatham and Ut, and it was just a lot of artists or people who came to New York who, for whatever reason, fell into playing music. But the overriding umbrella is or genre for it was, in a way, the Velvet Underground and their relationship to art, the art world.
Mm-hmm. Now, you didn't know how to play the guitar or the bass before you came to New York, right?
That's correct.
So how did that start? I mean, you meet Thurston, you meet Lee. Were you playing the guitar before you met them?
I was playing the guitar with this girl, Christine Hahn, who played bass, and Miranda Stanton, and we formed this all-girl group. Dan Graham, this artist, asked us to form it to do this famous performance piece of his audience mirror piece, and where he had a big mirror and he would stand in front of it and describe the audience looking at him. And then he would turn around and describe himself in the mirror with the audience looking at him in this very self-conscious way. And so he wanted to do that with an all-girl group and asked me to start. So I played guitar, and someone taught me how to, Jeffrey Lone from the Theoretical Girls taught me how to make a like a kind of a jazz half chording on the guitar. That was it, man.
I don't know why that wouldn't turn anybody on to the life. Can you remember, though, was there a moment when you started playing where you're on stage? Was there ever a moment where you thought, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Because there are those moments in our life where we think, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place. Was there ever a moment where you felt like that? Do you remember?
I don't know. I guess I felt like, that was thrilling when we did the performance. It was like very incredibly nervous, and but it was like going on like this huge roller coaster ride, and then it was over. And then I don't know. The next day I felt like, God, I feel like a rock and roller or something, like, which is, I don't know. It was kind of like, and then it was, what do I do with this? Do I continue doing music, or I do art? Or it was very confusing. It was kind of.
But you've never not made art. Even as you're making all the music, you've always, always, always made art.
To some extent, although it was, for a number of years, it was pretty much on the back burner. But I did always think of myself as an artist, or think in visual art terms, rather than identify as a musician.
In the beginning, when you started writing music, everybody in the band is writing, I guess, how does that go? Everybody writes lyrics together and everybody gets together and plays, or how's that work?
Mostly we would kind of sit around playing and, almost sort of jamming, and then things would kind of, someone might be playing something that was interesting, and then, so they would play that, and then someone else, and we just kind of kept shaping it, mm-hmm. And then eventually we'd have a bunch of these things we called songs, and pop songs, and then we, sort of, Thurston tended to sing the more melodic things, and sometimes he'd actually start out with a riff that he related to, and then we would kind of work around it, and then I would be challenged with these sort of big abstract pieces of music that I would have to come up with lyrics and some vocal idea for.
Well, I'm just noticing, again, excuse me for my voice, I'm really sorry. It's just a little Ebola. God, that's not even funny. I'm not normally funny anyway, so it should be no surprise to you. I'm thinking, though, when I'm looking at some of the songs that have been the most critically acclaimed songs, the most popular songs, the songs, many that I like the best, are songs that you wrote. And a lot of that starts really happening in the 90s. Is there a reason that you started to write more in the 90s? And a lot of these songs also have to me at least, very clear feminist roots, kind of a clear message. I know that's not how you work. You would never sit down and say, today I write an anthem. But clearly there was something going on in your head, I would think.
Well, I guess I was kind of aware that we had more of a platform or audience, and then I was more aware of women in the corporate world, because we'd go into the offices and stuff.
Yeah, talk about that. Talk about swimsuit issue. Well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess shortly after, I forget what record that's on. Is that on Goo or is that on Dirty?
Dirty.
Okay. Well, anyway, shortly after we signed, there was a scandal at Geffen where some executive was accused of sexual harassment with the secretary, and so I decided to write a song about it. And it kind of used the swimsuit issue from Sports Illustrated as like a metaphor, like that could be like on his wall or something.
Well, the whole end of the song are the names of the models from swimsuit, Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues. But it's more than just you thought it was interesting. Didn't you think, did you think like, shit, this sucks. Like, here's this person in power. Why aren't we making art about this? Or why don't I say something?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, there's a lot of material to write songs about if you're a woman. Maybe more than if you're a man. I don't know.
Say more about that, Kim.
Yeah,
this is why I was saying I was going to bring a pair of pliers on stage, because she's so interesting, but sometimes you have to put it out.
Well, emo core showed that men could write songs also about things like whining about their
acne,
misunderstood, and their girlfriends and shit. So they became liberated. Yeah. No, they're, like, if you're not writing about a broken heart or something, there's a lot of things to write about. And I'm not saying, and I think in our band we took advantage of that.
Yeah.
So, there's just like a lot of stuff to write, like about, and that was in a way also the impetus for, I guess, writing about Tunic or Karen Carpenter.
Which is one of my all-time favorite songs. I love that song.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. No, when I was writing my last book, I made a playlist of songs that would help me finish the book, and that was on there because I thought, people don't care about the eating disorder thing, the women in control. But when I listened to that, I would think, like, fuck yes, they do. And that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, the eating disorder is, it's kind of almost like a metaphor for how far women will go to please other people, and the feeling like their body is basically that's what they have to work with.
Right.
That's what we have to, it's like, it's a powerful thing, a body, women's bodies. That's, and it's like, basically that's kind of a huge platform across the whole of culture that everyone, like talks about in many different ways, and it reaches so many different places. But it was kind of a challenge to talk about things like that in a way that wasn't overtly political, that also, and I don't know, a lot of people thought we were, it was just kind of a kitschy thing, our interest in the Carpenters or something. But in truth,
and because of Todd Haynes' movie too.
Yeah, but in which was an amazing movie and much better than the TV version.
It has its pleasures.
So you feel like people thought in the beginning, oh, this is something kitschy. And actually, before I listened to it, I thought, oh, haha, because I had seen Todd's movie. Oh, how funny. And then you listen to it, and it is a dark, deep, intense song. And it's not purely about female erasure. You go to a show, and the people who are singing along with that song are men and women.
Well, if you listen to her voice and those songs, removed from the time period where, you know, they were first regarded as incredibly conservative and part of the establishment, so people didn't take them seriously. And but her voice was incredibly sexy and soulful, and she made those lyrics her own, and they were incredibly dark, also looking back on what her life was.
Yeah.
And you know, so they're actually like really, the Carpenters are really weirdly radical.
They were, and she was a killer drummer. I mean, she was a virtuoso drummer.
Yeah.
You watch her drum, and she's a slayer.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But I'm thinking...
Slayer.
She's a slayer. I was saying earlier, you're a slayer.
I like Slayer.
There's
that
only
band.
one slayer. What is it? One slayer to rule the world at one time.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Will you talk a little bit? I'm thinking a little bit again about that era, about Cool Thing, because that's another song that I found very, very inspiring, and it's around that same time. And it's another song that you wrote.
Yeah, that was a weird song about a lot of different things. Partly inspired by this film that Raymond Pettibone did called Weather Underground, where he was sort of, I guess, like kind of making fun of Bernadine Dorn as kind of being like sexually just kind of drawn to like the Black Panthers, and I don't know, it was like and then throwing Jane Fonda and Barbarella into the mix.
You get that when you see the video, absolutely. But what does the song come out of? I mean, I know what the song comes out of.
I mean, it was also, you know, it was the music part was inspired by Bootsy Collins and Funkadelic, and you know, the breakdown in the middle of the song and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also LL Cool J, who I forgot, who I really loved his first record, Radio, and Rick Rubin produced it, and I interviewed him for Spin once, and I had to go to his rehearsal and watch him, and I was really just curious, like how much did he know about rock, or what did he impart to the production? How much was Rick Rubin? And I was sort of disappointed because he said that Bon Jovi was his favorite rock band.
And he expounded on that. He said because he and Bon Jovi share the same values.
Yeah.
They're both working men.
Yeah. So you can't argue with that.
Says the future Grammy host. That's right.
Can't argue with that. But but it made me think about, like, you know, your expectations about performers and what you project on them, and you know, you think that they're just gonna like do everything for you.
Well, I thought that was a big deal when I read it. As someone who was working as a journalist and was continually meeting people, interviewing people who didn't take me seriously. I thought that was a great way to turn it around, and you didn't like go and, you know, shiv him. You let him hang himself, which is always the most satisfying thing.
Oh, I like him. I don't know. I really liked that video going back to Cali. I thought was kind of brilliant. Again, I don't know how much he had to do with it, but you know, it was during the sort of East Coast, West Coast, you know, wars, and you know, he was kind of, I don't know, like, yeah,
but were you not? And again, this may be one of these things. I remember Hemingway saying, "I like to hear what critics think about my books, so they can tell me what I mean." So the whole thing, like being a white girl and going there and being like, "Oh, we're going to get on so well because he's oppressed and I'm oppressed," and then there's that great thing, you know, with Chuck D. It's like, "Are you going to? Why don't you say it?"
No, it was,
No.
the funny thing with the Chuck D was that
corporate oppression.
Yeah, no.
It's a joke. I mean, I was like, oh fuck, right?
Yeah.
You can't expect that.
yeah, right.
Sending
Yeah,
up-
it was a joke. Yeah,
It's a joke. Yeah.
yeah, it was a joke.
I mean, you're known for your jokes, but I thought I'd pick out that
Okay, good.
one. Okay, so all right, so
The funny thing about Chuck D was that when we were recording at the same studio, and we thought we'd ask him, and then like he kind of did the most cliche thing, you know,
What did he
yeah, word up, and like whatever, and it's like, well, of course, like we're just like these dumb like white
What did he do?
kids, like no, I mean,
Take a breath. What did he do?
no, he said like, yo, tell it like it is. It's just like it was.
Did he really go word up?
Well, I think he might have. I don't know. Like, I have to go back and listen to the song. It was kind of cliched in a way that was like we deserved, basically, but actually worked perfectly for the song.
So, do you feel like as you've been making work, you're getting more political as you go along? I know that there's this great Gloria Steinem quote where she says, "What is it? Women are the only creatures who get more radical with age."
That's good. No, I don't know. I think you just kind of feel like you have less to lose, or you've been through more, so it doesn't really matter what happens or something. I don't know.
There's something very liberating.
Like I felt like when I started playing with music with Bill, I was like, oh God, I'm just gonna play music that I don't have to promote. Thank God. And no one's gonna care.
How'd that
I don't have to
turn
do
out
any
for you?
interviews. I can just enjoy it, and but it it ended up. It was very freeing, just to think, I'm just gonna set the bar low. I'm just gonna play music and do what I want, and it turned out to be this kind of really radical record that I'm super proud of.
It is really radical, and I think something that to me was so interesting is that what it really made me think about was listening to the record and then go seeing the show, is how there is. You can't, I guess, unless you just go to a straight rock show where occasionally bands stand up and they play their songs like note for note for note. You're like, I should have stayed home in my underwear. You never know what's going to happen when you go see an improvisation or more free-form improvisational show. I mean, you also didn't go to see Sonic Youth either. I mean, I went a lot because you never knew what was going to happen. How long is that, the end of Expressway to Your Skull going to go on?
Right, will it ever end?
Will it ever end?
No, I understand what you mean. I like that too. Like I like to see something unexpected, or I don't know, maybe audience have changed, but I feel like in the 80s I went to a lot of shows just to see what would happen and where it would take me, and I don't know.
That's an amazing transformative experience. So do you feel which is more exciting for you? Is it more exciting to do these collaborative projects? I mean, you've played with Yoko Ono, you've collaborated with Yoko Ono, or is it more exciting to go out and do something that's more scripted, or are they very different pleasures? Because certainly they're different challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mostly, I just don't want to have to get down on my knees and plug in my effect boxes. Basically, I'll play with anyone if I don't have to do that.
It's a good.
No,
thing.
I don't know. No, it's I mean, it's interesting to play with someone like Yoko. It's
What's it like? We're curious.
Well, I played with her at the Stone, and it's really John Zorn's really incredibly tiny club in the East Village, and she's great because she'll just come and show up and do it, and just appear, and then she'll just kind of give it up. But I enjoyed that more than playing on a big stage with her, where there are like a lot of expectations and things like that. Or just I don't know. Like I don't like to just I like playing with people who mostly I could relate to, and I know what they're going to bring to the performance.
Excuse me. Talking about people you like, I'm thinking about what's going on Twitter a little bit. Oh, you're checking your watch. Okay, let's take it this way. Let's step away from the Twitterverse. There's a lot of talk about feminism these days. I'm a good feminist. You're a great fucking feminist. How do you define feminist? What makes a feminist a feminist? Because not all women are feminists, and some of the very best feminists I know are men. So, how do we define feminism?
I don't know. I mean, I think that, it changes gradually or slightly every 5 years. But I think that, bottom line, at least you have to, really is about equal rights around the world. Women shouldn't be abused or, they should be fucking free. So, all the other subtleties and everything else to me doesn't really matter. But each person individually, whether you're a man or a woman, you have to just morally answer to yourself. It's not like, feminism doesn't mean I can do whatever I want.
It doesn't mean I can do whatever I want.
Well, you can't go stab somebody or God, no, what the fuck? I'm a fucking feminist, man. I'm gonna shoot you.
I'm on Emily's list, bitches. I can stab you.
Come on.
So we are unfortunately running just a little bit low on time for tonight's conversation. If it's
That's
okay.
a good place to stop, I guess.
Yeah. We got to the stabbing part,
That's
so now
right.
we can
That's
open
right.
it up to audience
That's right.
questions. If anybody has a question for Kim, I can go ahead and bring you a microphone.
She's not a feminist.
Well, first of all, thank you. Everything else is a footnote to that, but I do have a question is, do you have any future plans for acting roles? Because, recent release things have been really great. I'm wondering if you have any more of those lined up.
Well, I'm open.
Because you've done a bunch of stuff. You've done girls.
I'm into more improvisational situations, but I wouldn't mind being on Louis C.K. No.
Make a wish list.
Other questions up there?
In the back.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe if she speaks loud.
Hi, Kim. How are you doing?
Good.
Cool. Me too. I'm really excited and nervous, and I tweeted at you earlier.
What was your tweet?
I said I'm going to be so brave and just raise my hand and ask you a question, nervously. But I noticed that, I guess, as a young woman, and the trend of people hating women that love themselves. And I notice it just with artists like Lena Dunham and Kanye West. But particularly, women that love themselves, people love to hate on them. And just from reading the first 30 pages of your book just now, you mentioned being someone with a persona that is really cool and almost cold. And you never come off as somebody that is obsessed with themselves or that loves themselves particularly. So I guess I don't really have a question out of that, but I guess I'm wondering, what is your commentary on that? As far as women that love themselves and why we hate them so much, or we love to hate them.
Maybe I'm confused about what you mean by love themselves.
Do you mean strong women who project a strong image, who seem to have agency?
Yes.
What's up with that?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know that people hate that. I don't know. I think I think when you put yourself out in the public and you say, you do a lot and you say a lot of things, there's bound to be, people who find something wrong with it or pick out one, take it out of context or something. I don't get a sense that people hate Lena Dunham. I don't know. There's such a thing as being in the public eye a lot, people like, I have that fear, like, people are just gonna be sick of me and, like, want me to go away if I'm too much promo.
You mean TK,
But
TMK,
I
too
don't
much
know.
care?
I think it's people. I don't know. I think people shouldn't be on Twitter so much. Basically, Twitter is dumb. It's dumb.
You almost broke Twitter the other day, Kim. You almost broke Twitter. You and Lana Del Rey. Well, not you, but your fans and Lana Del Rey.
I'm glad we have something in common. No, people love to see a good female cat fight. And, like, what's up with that? I know. I wish I was Amy Schumer.
I think we have another one down front here.
I saw you in the 80s, and I'm from North Carolina, and I remember this show where you had Kiss, playing on the... So I can't remember the other songs you had on the cassette recorders, but that was really fun. And I do appreciate, like, your aesthetic, and it helped, the whole, women at that age not to, go with, the makeup and high heels. So it was a good role model. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad it didn't go to waste.
You have any other questions?
There's
In the back?
In the back?
Oh, sorry. You're a
for
man.
those of
Sorry.
For those of you who want to see Kim read the Riot Girl Manifesto, go on YouTube. It's really quite something. That would be really something you should see if you haven't already seen it. It's amazing.
I'm going to go ahead and pass this to you.
Have you ever said reunite?
We're going to go with
That question was, are you ever going to reunite? I have a different one.
Free Kitten.
Oh, no.
Free Kitten is maybe going to do a record at some point really soon. And thank you. I think there's a huge audience and a lot of young men who are really influenced and regard Free Kitten as icons. So I think that's something to really pursue.
And they buy merch.
And they buy merch,
And they buy merch.
I just have a quick one, and a big fan, so thanks for all you do.
Thanks.
What advice would you give a little girl like this? 13 going on 14, really into you, maybe in part thanks to me. So what do you got?
What advice?
Yeah.
Think about it, Kim.
That's such a heavy question. I think I'd almost defer that question to my daughter.
What would Coco say?
No, I didn't know. I think, you just be true to yourself and don't modify for some dude.
Wonderful. Well, that's about all the
Easier
time.
said than done.
Agree. That's about all the time we have for tonight's Q&A portion. Let's give a big round of applause to both Kim and Elissa for joining us.
Thank you.